Learning how to draw a face can be overwhelming for artists of all levels. In this simple tutorial, I will show you my tricks for drawing a face with a straight view, so someone looking right at you, and then at the end of the video, I will show you how to create a profile view. So I'm only going to focus on 2 views in this video, but these are the basics, and all you need is a pencil, a ruler, and your sketchbook. If you love learning about art, please subscribe so you never miss one of my weekly tutorials. To start, you need a pencil and a ruler, and we're going to start by gridding off with our line of symmetry. Your line of symmetry is going to be a vertical line that separates your face in half, and we're going to put a tick mark at the 1, 2, 3, and 4 inch marks. Then use your ruler to draw a grid line that goes all the way across, and this is going to help us make sure that our portrait has proportion or size relationships. Once you have your 4 lines, this will be your proportion guide. It's time to number your lines. If you're like me, you don't have a math brain, and even if you do, this will just help you see which line and which section you're working in. So first you're drawing a circle, and your circle needs to expand slightly out of the first line and then right at the top of the third. So the round part of your head is going to be in those first 2 sections. So really what we're doing is breaking our face up into thirds with your line of symmetry in the middle. My students are always obsessed with perfect circles, and fill the back of your head with your hand. Not a perfect circle, right? So you just want to try your best to make it as circular as you can and as even as you can without obsessing. As we learned after kindergarten, a head is not a perfect circle. So now it's time to extend down to create your chin. Your chin is going to end up at your 4th line in that bottom 3rd section, but it actually starts at your between line 2 and 3. So it does take up from your jawline all the way to your chin, the bottom 2/3. Look at the bottom of my chin. It's not a direct point like an alien from Area 51. And you do want to kind of gradually go down with almost a straight line and then curve in more drastically at the bottom. Your eyebrows, your eyes, your nose, and your ears are all going to happen in this middle 3rd section. So most of your facial features are going to happen right here between your 2nd and 3rd lines. The bottom 1/3 of your face, where your chin is, will also have your mouth. Your eyebrows do stay underneath line 2, so your forehead is really all, and your hairline is really all that takes up that top 3rd section. I like to start with eyebrows because I think they're not intimidating. You want to leave a space about the size of an eye between your eyebrows, and they go right below your 2nd line in that middle 3rd section of your face. Your nose is the longest vertical shape on your face. Lightly drawing your line from the end of your eyebrow down to the top of your 3rd line, this is going to be the length of your nose. For nostrils, draw 2 C's, one right way and then the right way backwards. And then the bridge of your nose is a smiley face curve or a C that's flipped over on its side. Those 2 curved lines I drew from the eyebrows, that's the actual shape of your nose. So the 2 lines we drew before, remember, that's just for size relationships and proportion guidelines, so you have your placement correct. Because I can't help it, I'm going to shade just a little bit. But remember, the focus here is studying and practicing the size relationships and placement of facial features. I am not trying to capture the likeness of a person. I'm not trying to create shading. I'm just mapping out the proportions of a face. Drawing 2 circles for my pupils will help me understand where to put my eyes. And one thing that students tend to do is draw their eyes way too big. So if you were to map it out, you have 2 eyes on your face, but you actually have the space of an eye between those eyes, and then, bear with me, there should be about the same size of an eye between the eye and the edge of the face on both sides. I know that seems kind of confusing, but basically you're not drawing huge circular eyes. So leave spaces in between the nose and on each side that's about the width of the eye itself. Now for the mouth, and all of this happens in your bottom 3rd section of your face. Lightly draw from your pupil down, and your mouth is going to be a little higher than the halfway point of your bottom 3rd section. So just a little bit higher up. Your horizontal line is going to go from pupil to pupil, and your bottom lip is fatter and shorter than your top lip. Your top lip needs to have like a really elongated M, okay? So you see it dips down in the middle and then expands to that horizontal line. And then the bottom lip goes in a little bit more and it's a little bit more full. I'm erasing some of the guidelines I don't need anymore once I'm happy, and I'm really not thinking about expression. My facial features are very neutral. I'm doing a little bit of shading to give it more life, but I'm keeping things pretty expressionless. Now your ears, they are going to go, believe it or not, from your eyebrows all the way down to your nose. So your ears are bigger than you think. And you start with a curved line. It kind of looks like a candy cane that has been turned or flipped the other direction. And I'm putting just a couple curved lines in my ear to give it a little bit more detail and more lifelike qualities. On the other side, so your ear goes from the top of your eye or eyebrow, and it's going to go all the way down to where your nose ends. So I'm going to make it a little bit bigger to match the other side so it touches that eyebrow. The hard thing about symmetry is what you do on one side, you have to repeat to the other. So I'm trying to kind of keep my ear shape similar, which is a challenge. So you can see me erase and change my shapes. And you can always go back and look at more detailed tutorials on how to capture the likeness of each facial feature. This tutorial is more focused on the placement so you can get it right when you're drawing a portrait from life or from a reference image. I'm drawing two slightly curved lines that extend down from my jawbone for my neck and then go out for my shoulders. I'm going to keep it pretty simple. My neck's a little thin. I could go closer to my ear, but my jawbone kind of sticks out. So just make sure it's not tiny like a human head on a popsicle stick. So I'm almost done here. I'm erasing my guidelines because, to be honest, it kind of looks like a mugshot with those lines back there. And honestly, these proportion drawings always make me feel kind of creepy, like they're a mugshot, a wanted poster, missing person poster, because they have that like generic feel to it. So if I were doing this in my sketchbook, maybe I'd slightly add some pen marks or some color to it. But just for practice and understanding facial proportions, it is going to have that kind of anonymous missing person look because you're not committing to expression or to individuality. I'm going to go in and add just a little bit more shading. And yes, my person right now is bald, so I'll put a few little marks to show where the hairline could be if you were focusing on adding hair and not just facial proportion. Round 2, profile view. This is my favorite way to draw a person, and you're going to start just like you did before with your line of symmetry. Just like we did before, put a tick mark at the 1, 2, and 3, and then draw light horizontal lines all the way across so you get your size relationships and your facial proportions correct. There are a few differences, but we're going to be using the same basics. And if you're not a math person like me, go slow, do your time with your practice so that when you are drawing a person from life, or you're doing maybe a larger piece of art or a painting, you don't have to actually grid it out each time. So you're gonna draw a circle, but this time it's gonna go the halfway point between line 3 and 4, and it's gonna expand not quite to the halfway point over line number 1. Once you have those two curved lines, fill it in on the sides until you've created your best round shape. Remember, it doesn't have to be a perfect circle, and if you touch and feel the back of your head, I promise it's not perfect. So don't obsess, draw lightly, and you can always erase your stray marks. Because this is a profile or side view, the neck is a little bit more complicated. On the right end of your head, you're going to put a slightly curved line, and on the left side, draw a line that starts at line number 2 that goes straight down. That's going to be your neck and your chin. Now I'm lightly mapping out the ear because the chin curves from that straight line down up to where your ear is between line 2 and 3. Now my chin looks weird, so I am going to kind of go back and erase it because the nose really helps you map out your chin. Your hairline is going to extend off of line number 1, and line 2, your eyebrow is going to go just up and down, touching the side of your face. Remember, your eyebrow and the top of your ear line up. Once you've established your chin, you can add a slight curve to create the other part of your neck. And yes, my chin looks weird. You're gonna see me erase it multiple times. Now your nose extends down right at the eyebrow all the way down to line 3, and then it curves in to make your nostril. Underneath your eyebrow, where your nose starts, you're gonna draw a V shape, and then you're going to create your eye by just darkening it slightly. Your mouth is not quite at the halfway point. It's a little higher up towards line number 3. And then you're going to curve out from the nose and into that line. And then you're going to make a weird chin. And then you're going to curve again, keeping in mind that that straight line is kind of your guideline, but there will be some curving in and out. Now, today's tutorial, as you know, is not about shading or drawing the likeness of a particular person. It's about facial feature placement, size relationships, where things go on the face. So I'm not going to pay a lot of attention to detail in the shading of the facial features. Now, the ear became my struggle, and I just could not get it right. It looked really big, it looked really potato-y, then it looked like an elf. So you will see me play around and erase the ear. And that's important information to know as you're drawing. I've done several of these to practice, and you don't always get it right the first time. That's the whole point in practicing, so when it counts and you're ready to do a work of art that's bigger and out of your sketchbook, you have plenty of practice. Feeling frustrated with my ear, I'm erasing the lines that I don't need anymore and darkening the ones that I'm committed to. These proportion drawings always look kind of weird because you have this big giant bald head. They kind of have that mugshot appearance, especially since there's those lines. But I want to give the indication that there's some hair, and you can kind of see where the hairline is. It extends up from the top line and it goes on top of your ear. Here we go again, changing the ear. And if this was just a drawing and I wasn't trying to show you where to place an ear, maybe I would just cover that thing up with hair. Another option is to Google how to draw an ear and just really focus on the simplicity of the shape and the lines that are included. An ear can be tricky. It seems like a really simple shape, and in a lot of ways it is, but that doesn't mean it's simple to draw. To allow my blood pressure time to go down after drawing this elf ear, I am going to add just a little bit of shading to create interest and depth in my portrait. So remember, it's not of a certain person. It's practicing how to outline where the lights and darks are, and I'm only doing a little bit of shading. I don't want to get too caught up in trying to make like a realistic portrait with a finished look that represents a person. I want to just keep it really simple to practicing facial proportion. By ear, let's try this again. That shading looks good on the nose, doesn't it? So that's giving me a little bit of extra, feelings. And finally, I think I have my ear right. The lines on the inside are a little tricky. There's a curved line at the top and bottom. And I think when I start shading slightly, that's gonna make me feel better because there is a lot of darkness in your ear because it goes in, it's a cavity. So that little bit of shading, I'm like, okay, finally I'm feeling good about the ear. I'm adding a few expressive or gesture lines in the hair. And the cool thing about this portrait is I can easily make it a man, I can easily make it a woman. It's pretty generic, which is good. I can practice drawing without having to commit to a certain person. I'm making some final edits with my lines, controlling how thick or how thin certain facial features are, as well as adding some darker and lighter areas just to give my sketch a little bit more interest. Knowing when to be finished is always tricky, so just have fun, enjoy the process, but don't overwork it. But if you do, that's why we're using a pencil. Thank you so much for sticking around, and I hope you learned something. Check out these other drawing tutorials to help you take your drawing to the next level.